a loose wheel, a 2-lap penalty, 2 suspended crew members, and still, Bubba Wallace finished second. That was the week before. This week, exiting turn 9 at Sonoma, his left rear tire dropped into the gravel, the grip vanished in an instant, and his car spun nose first into the wall before he had even completed a qualifying lap. In the time between those two moments, everything about the conversation surrounding Bubba Wallace changed, and 2 words began circulating that no driver ever wants attached to his name: Bubba Wallace leaving. Nobody official said it. No owner confirmed it. No contract story broke. But once those words start circulating in NASCAR, they almost never stop on their own. And that is exactly where Bubba Wallace and 23XI Racing found themselves after one weekend at Sonoma Raceway. To understand why this mattered so much, you have to understand where Bubba Wallace stood before he arrived. Going into Sonoma, he was not a driver in crisis. He was a driver with momentum. At Naval Base Coronado on June 21st, the number 23 Toyota dropped 2 full laps behind the leaders after a loose right front wheel, and 2 crew members were suspended by NASCAR. By every measure, that race was over before it started. Wallace refused to quit. He charged through the field on speed, strategy, and sheer will, and finished second, a career-best result on a street course. The week before that, he had finished third at Michigan, giving him back-to-back top 5 finishes. He sat 11th in points, alive in the playoff picture. This man was momentum personified. And then Sonoma happened. At Sonoma, Bubba Wallace was placed in Group 2 of qualifying. His first lap produced a time of 1:15.887, slotting him provisionally inside the top 10. The number 23 showed genuine speed, and he had already recorded the 4th fastest lap in practice. The team was confident. Wallace pushed harder on his second lap. Exiting turn 9, he ran slightly wide. The left rear of the Toyota dropped into the gravel runoff area, and all grip was gone in an instant. The car spun 180 degrees and went nose first into the safer barrier between turns 9 and 10. Wallace climbed out under his own power, but the car could not continue. The front-end damage was extensive, and under NASCAR rules, unapproved repairs meant starting from the rear of a 36-car field. Sonoma Raceway is statistically one of the hardest tracks in the NASCAR Cup Series to pass on, and Bubba Wallace would start dead last. He was one of 3 drivers sent to the back, joining Legacy Motor Club's Eric Jones and Front Row Motorsports' Noah Gragson, both of whom had unapproved adjustments made to their cars. There was an added weight to the moment. Wallace was working with replacement crew members at Sonoma because of the suspensions carried over from San Diego. Before qualifying, he spoke about that challenge. "It's unfortunate for our 23 group, but these guys have been practicing," he said. "It sucks." This was not the first time a road course had punished him, and the numbers explain why the crash hurt more than a single bad lap should. Across 37 NASCAR Cup Series road course starts, his career average finish on road courses sits at 21.8. His next best surface, 1 to 2 mile ovals, averages 19.8. His overall career average across 308 races stands at 19.5. Road courses are statistically his worst surface. Sonoma specifically ranks as his worst track, with an average finish of 24.0 at any track with 7 or more starts. That weakness collided directly with the calendar. The 2026 NASCAR Cup Series schedule features only 4 road courses. Every single road course race carries double the weight for this team. They cannot afford to waste them. And they wasted one before the green flag even dropped. What made it sting more was the timing, because Wallace had just shown real growth as a road racer at San Diego, joking that he had unlocked an alter ego he called Bubba Hamilton. The crash was barely an hour old before the speculation started. Not on pit road, not in the garage, but on social media, where NASCAR's silly season lives between official announcements. fans began connecting unrelated events into one larger storyline. One difficult week became two. Two became a pattern. A pattern became a question. The takes came quickly. One analyst voice framed it around standards, arguing that elite organizations expect elite consistency, and that every time a teammate runs near the front, the spotlight on Wallace gets brighter. A counterpoint pushed back just as fast, pointing out that consecutive difficult weekends create narratives much faster than actual roster changes ever happen. Another insider went deeper, suggesting that Sonoma did not create the pressure. It exposed how much pressure was already there. That brings in the comparison that fueled the entire conversation. Tyler Reddick. When 23XI Racing was founded by Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin, the vision was never mediocrity. The standard was championships, superstar drivers, and long-term dominance. Tyler Reddick has largely delivered on that standard in 2026, with race wins, championship-caliber speed, and consistent front-running results. Even after his own difficult moment at Coronado, where he publicly accepted responsibility for late mistakes, Reddick bounced back without the narrative collapsing around him. So the real question formed naturally: why does one driver's bad weekend spark a contract story while the other's fades by Monday morning? The answer is not about talent. It is about expectations. As one reporter framed it, the conversation around Bubba Wallace is not only about results anymore. Expectations at 23XI have become just as big as the performances themselves. That distinction matters. It is not about whether Wallace is good enough. It is about whether the expectations surrounding him have grown so large that no single result, good or bad, can ever fully satisfy them. There is a clear reason the scrutiny is heavier on him than on anyone else. Wallace is the only black driver racing full-time in the NASCAR Cup Series. He is one of NASCAR's most recognizable personalities and biggest marketing figures. Television cameras follow him more closely than almost anyone else in the field. Radio conversations receive more attention. Every mistake becomes a headline. Similar incidents involving other drivers often disappear within one news cycle. And yet, while fans speculated about an exit, the commercial investment in Wallace told the opposite story. Upper Deck announced a Space Jam paint scheme for the number 23 Toyota at Chicagoland on July 5th, honoring the 30th anniversary of the film, which famously starred co-owner Michael Jordan. Jason Mashera, president of Upper Deck, described it directly. "This is a massive celebration of fandom. Space Jam is an iconic movie that spans multiple generations, and we're excited to capture what fans love most about the film and share it across Upper Deck brands." Steve Lauletta, president of 23XI, framed the value for the team. "Our partnership with Upper Deck continues to result in one-of-a-kind memorabilia that expands well beyond just the racetrack, allowing 23XI to reach both current and new audiences. Companies do not put Space Jam on a car they are walking away from. That is a commercial vote of confidence wrapped in a purple paint scheme." Still, the speculation did not stop, because in NASCAR, what sponsors believe and what fans fear can exist in completely different worlds. The reaction across the sport split into two camps. On one side, fans pushed back hard, arguing that people were overreacting, that Bubba Wallace had just finished second the week before, and that one crash should not suddenly erase everything he had built this season. Others asked plainly where the actual evidence was, calling it fans connecting dots that do not officially exist. On the other side, some voices complicated that defense. They argued that Wallace's value to 23XI has never been just statistics, that leadership, sponsors, visibility, and performance all factor into the equation, which is why the story is bigger than one crash. Then, one respected reporter cut through all of it, noting how quickly a single qualifying incident turns into silly season speculation, and stating clearly that until there is actual evidence, it is still just speculation, not a contract story. So which is it? Overreaction or legitimate concern? The team's own words offered a clue, but not in the way fans expected. 23XI Racing's official account posted a steady message. Tough break in qualifying, but we've overcome adversity before. The team will get the number 23 ready and will fight from the back tomorrow. That's what this group does. Denny Hamlin kept it focused on execution. One qualifying crash doesn't define a season. Keep your head down, fix the car, execute the strategy, and go race. Tyler Reddick offered support as well, pointing to the speed his teammate had shown. Road courses punish every mistake. Bubba had speed all weekend. Tomorrow is about maximizing every lap and staying in the fight. Notice what none of those statements said. Nobody talked about the future. Nobody talked about the contract. Nobody said 23XI is committed to Bubba Wallace long term. They addressed the crash. They addressed Sunday's race. Everything beyond that moment was left completely untouched. In NASCAR, what organizations choose not to say is sometimes louder than what they do, though it is worth being honest that this is interpretation, not proof of anything. Now the facts as they stand. Wallace is still a 23XI Racing driver. He remains in the provisional playoff picture. No contract dispute has been confirmed. No exit has been announced. The number 23 Toyota took the green flag at Sonoma from the rear of the field. As one veteran reporter put it, the crash changes Wallace's starting position, not necessarily his playoff outlook. And the bigger question is whether 23XI can recover on a track where passing is notoriously difficult. The roster context supports stability rather than collapse. Wallace signed a multi-year contract extension with the team back in 2024. And Corey Heim, who earned his first career win at San Diego, is set to join as a full-time teammate in 2027, driving the new number 35 Toyota. These are the moves of an organization building forward, not tearing down. Bubba Wallace has answered his critics before. He turned Naval Base Coronado into a career moment when most people expected him to disappear in the chaos. He has done it before, and he can do it again. But even in that career-best moment, he carried the weight of what slipped away. "It's what if," he said afterward. "Tired of living in that." The question this time is not whether Bubba Wallace can bounce back. The question is whether bouncing back is still enough inside an organization that was never built to settle for anything less than a championship. And that question does not get answered at Sonoma. It only gets louder. So here is what is worth debating. Does Bubba Wallace have what it takes to secure his future at 23XI Racing? Or is Sonoma a turning point this season cannot afford? One crash did not end his contract, and the sponsors are still lining up behind him. But the expectations surrounding Bubba Wallace have grown into something that no single weekend, good or bad, can fully satisfy. And that pressure is not going away anytime soon.